Today let us start histology of epithelium. So we know four basic tissues in our body are nothing but our epithelium tissue, connective tissue, muscular tissue, and our neuronal tissue. So we know epithelial tissue is mainly made up of our tightly joined cells and which rest on a basement membrane and they separate from the other tissues. So these are nothing but avascular structures because they are just present outer to our linings of our body. So they are avascular and they get their nutrient or blood supply from the lower layers, and the cells are arranged as sheet, then it is known as membranous epithelium. And when cells are arranged as in a glandular pattern, then it is known as glandular tissue. As you know, glands are also a specialized form of epithelial tissue. So they cover the external surface of our body, mainly also lining the internal cavities like in pericardium, pleural, peritoneal, cardiovascular system. So whenever they're lining this cavities like pericardial, pleural, peritoneal, then it is known as mesothelium. And it also lining the body tubes which communicate to the exterior like a respiratory, GIT, and also urogenital. So what are the main function of the epithelium is protection, that is epidermis, in case like epidermis protect us defense barriers, etc. And secretions like in GIT, and also they play a role in absorption, that the food we eat, the energy or some glucose, amino acids, so all those are absorbed by means of epithelium only. And there are sensory functions which can sense the stimuli like in tongue, nose, olfactory receptors in nose, internal ear, etc. So there are different types of epithelium, that is mainly epithelium divided into membranous, if it is sheet like then membranous, and if it glandular pattern then glandular epithelium. So shape, based on the shape they are divided into many types, so let us look at that. So if the cells are flat, especially in the outer layer, if we can see the flat cells, then it is known as squamous cells. So the squamous cells mainly having a central nuclei like a fried egg. So if you see this, it appears like a fried egg. So the cells are having equal height and width, so they look like a cube, then it is known as cuboidal epithelium, mainly in the outer layer. So this is simple, right? Simple epithelium only have one layer, so we can observe the cells according to that and say, so tall cells, if the cells are tall and the nucleus is mainly at the base, then we can confirm it as columnar epithelium. So layers of epithelial cells, if it is single then we know simple, that is with flat, then simple squamous, cuboidal, simple cuboidal cells, and simple columnar cells. So all cells, remember that in simple columnar or all this where all cells are mainly attached to the basement membrane in the case of simple cells. But coming to the multiple, if we are having multiple cells, it is known as stratified, they look like stratified appearance. So multiple layers, they don't rest on the basement membrane, of course, because only single layer, for example this is basement membrane, only single layer, then single layer of cells, they are completely attached to the basement membrane. But multiple layers, you can imagine the outer layers are free, they are not attached to the basement membrane. So the stratified example is that nothing but all layers are not attached on the basement membrane. And also cell vary in shape layer to layer. So mainly we give the name to these cells based on the outer layer, so named according to the cell on the top layer. So if the flat, that is stratified squamous, or like that if it is columnar in the outer layer, stratified columnar or stratified cuboidal. So mainly based on the outer layer of the cell in the case of stratified epithelium. So now let us see the special epithelium in the urinary system, which is nothing but known as urothelium, also known as transitional epithelium, where the number of cells are decreased whenever the urinary bladder is stretched and number of cells are increased whenever our bladder is getting empty. So this epithelium is mainly known as transitional epithelium. So what is simple squamous epithelium? So simple squamous epithelium is present in our vascular system, then it is known as endothelium, lining our blood vessels. And for gaseous exchange, in alveoli when it is present, then respiratory system in alveoli, and in kidney it may present in nephron mainly for the sake of filtration. And also simple cuboidal epithelium is present in our nephron, glandular ducts, and also surface of ovaries. So simple columnar epithelium is present in gallbladder, stomach, and also intestine. So he can see the cells, this is nothing but known as pseudo-stratified epithelium. Here the cells are actually only present on the single layer, that is they are directly attached to the basement membrane. But as the cells, you can see some are taller, some are small, so they appear like a multi-layer. So these are known as pseudo-stratified epithelium. So every cell is reaching here basement membrane, but just looks like a stratified, but not because of different size of cells. So the pseudo-stratified epithelium is mainly present in a trachea, respiratory conductive pathway, and also in epididymis in the males. So the pseudo-stratified epithelium may also sometimes have cilia, and they may also have mucus releasing in the respiratory system sometimes. So what is stratified squamous epithelium? The outer cells are without the nuclei. If So stratified squamous is further divided into two types like keratinized and non-keratinized. So if the outer layers are without the nuclei, and then it is known as stratified keratinized epithelium, and the skin is dry and cornified mainly in the case of keratinized. And the stratified non-keratinized squamous is nothing but the outer layer is with the nucleus, and present in our oral cavity, vaginal area, and also in our esophagus. So next let us check out the stratified cuboidal epithelium. So it is mainly present in the ducts of the glands. Next, stratified columnar. It is present in mainly large ducts. So transitional, as we discussed, it is urine proof, so present in calyces, ureter, urethra, urinary bladder, etc. in all urinary parts. So what is free side of the cell? That is the cell. For example, this is the apical side of a cell, and on the basement membrane side, that is known as basal domain, and on the lateral sides this is known as lateral domain. So the cell, if you see, this is the lateral domain, this is the basal domain, this is the apical domain, and the apical domain you have microvilli, cilia or flagella based on the cell. We know that thing. So every cell is having different polarity. So here you can see on the apical you can find all microvilli. This is the lateral side. We have zona occludens, zona adherens, macula densa, desmosomes, gap junctions, etc. We know two side attached with other cell. And the basal part, you know, we are having our basement membrane, which is made up of our basal lamina and reticular lamina. So all the structures we are going to see in detail. So for example, if we take a nephron over here, that is nephron, they are having special transporters mainly in our apical surface and push back to the blood. You can see a glucose and amino acids are pushed back to the blood whenever the urine is passing through the nephron in the PCT. We know this process. So the microvilli and stereocilia, what is the difference between them? Actually both are microvilli, this microvilli and stereocilia, but stereocilia, the name is misnomer. Even stereocilia is not cilia, it's a microvilli, but the only difference is than microvilli, the stereocilia are longer. So you can check out, this is microvilli, but stereocilia means they are like more longer. So they are similar and they are non-motile. We know that microvilli are non-motile, but the cilia are motile structure. So here the stereocilia is also non-motile. So the motile apical cilia are also present in the apical parts, right? So now let us check out our microvilli structure and its details. So normally microvilli is having an actin binding filament over here, and it is having outer myosin 1 filaments, and there are rods of actin in between. So rods of actin, as rods of actin are present, so something should bind them. So there is also actin binding filaments, and outer we are having myosin 1 filaments. And this is the spectrin which is connecting this outer part and the inner part. So what is the inner part? It is a terminal web and also having the myosin 2 filaments. So terminal web is also part of cytoskeleton, and inside we are having the intermediate filaments. So this is a internal structure of a microvilli. So what is the useful of microvilli? They normally increase the surface area of the cell, and these cells are mainly present in our GIT because there only we need more amount of surface area for absorption in GIT, and also nephron for filtration of urine. And also microvilli is giving a brushed border or striations to absorb more substances. So remember, microvilli is mainly non-motile, so it is only like not moving, and the stereocilia are also similar to microvilli, but they are also non-motile and they are very long. Only difference is they are long. And this stereocilia you can find them mainly in the inner ear and also in the epididymis of a male. So you can understand the microvilli structure. So once again let us revise. We are having actin binding filaments with the rods of actin inside, and outside we are having myosin 1 filament, and inside we can remember myosin 2 filaments are present. And here this is known as spectrin. Spectrin is dividing the outer part and inner part, that is nothing but it is attaching the inner part to the outer part. In the inner part we are having the terminal web, myosin 2. Terminal web is also part of cytoskeleton, remember, and internally we are having a intermediate filaments. Now let us check out cilia. So we know cilia are motile structure mainly, which are mainly found in our respiratory system to clear the mucus. So they are mainly having a 9+0 and 9+2 arrays. The 9+0 array is mainly present in the basal body, and 9+2 array is present in the outer part, moving part. So let us check out its structure. So normally cilia basal body is having triplets, right? Here you can see the triplets, how they are arranged. So there are 9 triplets which are arranged like central like this, and the triplet is mainly formed by tubulin with the microtubules. So this arrangement is nothing but 9+0 arrangement, which is mainly present in our basal body. So this basal body arrangement only continues upwards, but there are only doublets are reaching, and in central 2 singlets are present, and they are attached by means of radial spokes. So, and they are having outer dyninarms. So dyninarms actually move along the direction of the cilia. If the dyninarms are moving this side, then the cilia also move this side, and if they are moving towards left side, then they move left side. So according to the movement, the dyninarms are adjusting, and outer we are also having a nexin protein to connect all this. So in the ring we are having 9+2 array in the outer part, and then in the basal body we are having 9+0 array. So here we can check out this theory, that is, from every triplet the two tubes extend, that is the 9 doublets go upward inside the central sheet with a single tubular extension. So here the radial spokes are connecting the triplets to the central doublets, and special arms between the doublets, that is dyninarms, are present, which are molecular motors which help the cilia to bend. So they have the capacity to break mainly ATP, and the outer side we are having doublets which hold by nexins. So on which side the cilia want to move, the dyninarms mainly move towards that side, and if sometimes there is a disease in the dyninarms, then the cilia may be immotile. So it's defective, like it is immobile cilia syndrome, where there are many respiratory infections because the mucus is not clearing out. So many microbes go there, that is causing chronic sinusitis, bronchiectasis, and also dextrocardia. That is sometimes dextrocardia, not only cardia but also many other organs may be present in the opposite direction, like normally heart on the left side, but it may shift to right side. So like that is known as situs inversus. So the organs may shift their position, and the male may be sterile, and also there is decreased fertility even in the female. And this respiratory diseases, sinusitis, bronchitis, these are mainly known as Carter-Jenner syndrome. So Carter-Jenner syndrome is mainly because of a dyninarms deficiency or disease in the dyninarms. Now let us see the connections, that is in the lateral side. So we have completed the apical part of the cell. Now let us see the lateral side of the cell. So in the lateral side of cell we are mainly having many junctions which are connecting one cell with the other. So let us see them one by one. So first we have our zona occludens. So zona occludens mainly prevent of flow of apical substances. We have some apical proteins, all those things. So they prevent this substances moving in between or into the cell or to the other parts. So they prevent the paracellular flow, that is a tight junction. So paracellular flow is nothing but the flow between the cells. So they prevent that because they are very tight junctions. And next we are having zona adherens. We can see here the zona adherens which held together, which is more. So what is more stronger among all this is zona adherens, which held the cells together with intermediate junctions. This zonal adherence is also known as intermediate junctions. Next we have, you can see them spot-like structures known as macular adherents. These are also known as desmosomes. With calcium mainly help to stick them together. And next here you can see gap junctions, like window-like junctions, where the substances, amino acids, everything can transfer from one cell to other. These are known as gap junctions. So transcellular process is nothing but where a substance can enter inside the cell and go to other side of the cell. Paracellular means in between two cells a substance can move. So now let us see the detail of zona occludens. So the zona occludens is mainly made up by proteins known as occludens, as its name. So the occludens and claudins are present, which seal the surface of the cells. Inside they are attached. So you can see these are the occludens and these are the claudins. So these two are mainly helpful in attaching of two cells in case of zona occludens. And they're having ZO1, ZO2, ZO3 areas where the Clostridium perfringens, Helicobacter pylori can attach and attack them. So you can see ZO1, ZO2, ZO3, these areas same like this. Here also they are present. So mainly Clostridium perfringens and also Helicobacter pylori bacteria may mainly affect these areas. And next let us see the zona adherens. So the zona adherens is mainly having EVA. So what is this EVA? E means EC adherens, V means vincolin, A means alpha actin. And also they are having catenin, which are involved mainly in this system. So you can see here EVA on the both sides, and we are also having our catenin over here, which is helping to bind two cells together. And next we are having the macular adherens. So the macular adherens are also nothing but having the desmoplakin, placoglobin in the inner side of the cell membrane, which interact with each other by desmocolins and desmoglins. So these are also calcium dependent. So these macular adherens are also same like this, they are present on two sides and they attach two cells together. And next we are having the gap junctions. So gap junctions is mainly made up of 6 peptides which are channels which are present on both sides, and they are having connexins. Connexins is nothing but whole structure forming a connexon. So mainly sodium ions, cyclic AMP amino acids can pass from one cell to other. So antibodies against the desmosomes may be processed sometimes in case of emphilicus vulgaris. It is an autoimmune disease where our own body forms the antibodies against our own cells desmosomes. So there are multiple blisters are formed in this case. Now let us see some basal features, that is our basal side features. So we know we are having basement membrane that is mainly made up of basal lamina and also our reticular lamina. So the basal lamina is having central dense part then known as zona densa and outer light part known as zona lucida. So this basal lamina is having epithelium around which around fat, muscles, squam cells, and also this is known as external lamina. And under the basal lamina we are having ramula reticularis, which is mainly formed from the fibroblast, but the basal lamina is mainly formed from the epithelium and it is present around fat, muscles, squam cells. This is then known as external lamina. So now we are having some substances like integrins, laminin, entactin. So here you can remember like alloepithelium for fun 7 times a day in all 3 ways. So this is a mnemonic for which you can remember like I for integrins, L for laminin, E for enactin, and 4 for collagen 4, F for fibronectin, 7 for collagen 7, and 3 ways like collagen 3 in reticularis. So here the integrins, laminin, and enactin together form the zona lucida. If you remember, these are the layers of a basal lamina, and our collagen 4 fibronectin together form our zona densa. So this together forming the basal lamina, and here the collagen 7 and collagen 3 in the reticularis together form reticularis. So the basal lamina along with the reticularis is nothing but forming our basement membrane. So the cells which are involved in the basement membrane are nothing but this mnemonic. So next this basal lamina is also attached towards, this is in the outside of the cells, right? So inside towards the cell it is also attached to TVA, that is teline, vincolin, and actinin, that are the focal adherents which are inside attached to them and outside attached to the basement membrane. And we are having the hemidesmosome, which is inside attached to the intermediate filaments and outside attached to the basement membrane. So sometimes collagen 7 is nothing but which is attaching these two structures together, that is our basal lamina, zona lucida and zona densa layers. So whenever collagen 7 is mutant, then the basement membrane itself can break down. This is causing dystrophic epidermalacia bulla. So the muscle cell is having mainly actin and myosin, which are held by the intracellular, transcellular, and extracellular proteins. So whenever there is any deficiency or disease in the intracellular proteins or dysfunction, it is known as dystrophin. Then this is known as Duchenne's muscular dystrophy. It is most common in boys or males. So this is all about histology of epithelium. Very simple lesson.